Okay, big up to everyone in the chat. How's it going? We are live. We just get the link out. So I have to restart my laptop. I don't know what's going on. I'm having huge lag. So I'm just starting this from my phone for 1 second while I get that sorted out, hopefully. So yeah, we got a good lineup tonight. Gonna have a couple people on. Yeah, the numbers never add up, right? They're always off. Big up to Luke Cash for coming through. Um, big up Chris. I'm surprised you're still awake. So yeah, we got a good lineup tonight. We're gonna get Mr. Pelu on here. We're probably going to have Coach Love is supposed to be coming through. She's a fellow American content creator that I just really had the pleasure of meeting recently. So we're gonna have her come through. The Honorable Imam Alfred Mohammed comes through. And into some interfaith dialogue and just a couple questions and yeah, just have a good chat. So here we go. What is going on with my laptop? This is not the night.
Hi.
Good evening, Coach Love. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Good, good. I'm just trying to get my laptop sorted out. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine. I can hear you well. The gentleman will be joining us soon.
Let's get Mr. Pelu.
Yes, I'm here. I sent the link to the two gentlemen that'll be with us today. Is going to be a wonderful show today. A wonderful show.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot of diversity here.
Yeah.
It should be a great night. It should be great. I'm just trying to restart my laptop. I have some major lag going on, and hopefully it's good now.
I'm going to. I send them a link. I hope they understand to click it. Or let me go tell them click that link. Hold on.
All right, perfect. I'm gonna come right back from my laptop in 1 second. There we go. All right, how's that sound now? Good?
Yeah.
There we go, much better. I put the StreamYard on it, and you know how it says like test your camera. I was moving, and nothing was moving on the screen. I'm like, oh, I'm having such a lag right now. So,
oh my
I think
gosh,
we're all set though. We're good. We're in business. We're in business. Sounds
wonderful,
good.
wonderful. I love it.
What
How
did he
have you
say? There's
been?
two Good, good. How you doing? Nice to see you. Look pretty today.
Well, thank you, dear.
Beautiful.
I'm going to have to go back to the conversation that Mr. Pelu and Kel had earlier.
Okay.
I didn't, because apparently, what did you find so revealing about what Kel said? I don't know. I don't know what he said. in the panel today.
Yeah, I was there, and I was talking to me, and we both were kind of on the same along the same lines. That y'all can hear me good, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So we were on the same lines in that is like the last generation didn't do um as good for us as we wanted them to do in terms of transferring knowledge of relevant life experiences to us because they had it. I think they take things for granted, but at the same time, we got to be the change that we want to see. Just like we had a baby boom before them, there was the greatest generation. So that's what you used to call them. So I think this millennial generation is the greatest generation. It's like the reincarnation of the greatest generation, or the latest reiteration of that generation, and as such they are going to fight a new world war, but like a cultural world war, and as like a psychosocial war, like a psychosocial world war, to see how we're going to move in the next in the new globalized world. And the first ones to really do that, and that's going to be the millennials, even though they're sort of late bloomers, but that's because they always had an upward battle from the start.
Very interesting. Welcome. Hi. How are you?
Yes sir, yes sir.
Welcome, Imam Mohammed. Oh, you're on mute,
You're
sir.
on mute, you're on mute, sir.
And by the
Well,
way,
you
Jerry,
can't. You obviously can't hear me on mute, so I'm unmuted. I'm honored and privileged to meet you, and I heard so many great things about you. But then I heard great things about Santa Claus, and he wasn't real. I heard about the Easter Bunny, and it turned out not to be real. But you are for real. The last time I was called into the show, you were ill. So thank God you look very healthy and very inspiring, and I'm all ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I did. I had COVID. I tested positive like the day after, and it was miserable. But yeah, we're
I
back,
know
and
I had COVID too, so COVID was
yeah,
miserable.
yeah, it was not fun. But I know I do apologize for that, and I wasn't attentive and you know
It
participant in the
happens.
show
It
like I
happens to the
wanted to
best of
do.
us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we're so glad to have you back. Thank you for coming back and taking your time to be with us today. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Mm.
now, Iman, let me take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Erica Atkins, affectionately known as Coach Love. And I have my own podcast as well. And I've been asked here to join in the opportunity to interview you and get to know you a bit better. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. So so as y'all know now, we all met each other. This is our second show together. Imam Alfred Mohammed is a veteran of the civil rights movement. He's a veteran of the development of Islam in and the African American community in particular through his many iterations, including the Nation of Islam, into the time of into the time of Imam Wardi Muhammad, and now to the present, and what we want for the future development of Islam in the African American community. He's a social activist. He's currently involved in the campaign of being anti KKK. That's kin killing kin. So he's a social activist, and he's an interfaith leader. He's facilitated interfaith meetings with many different peoples, and that's one of the things we want to start when we start our conversation today. So Imam, where we left off last time is your interfaith work. Tell us what interfaith work means to you, your history, no, okay, first say what it means to you, and say what you want to accomplish with interfaith work.
Well, coming from the Nation of Islam, we didn't believe anybody was basically right but ourselves. And so in 1975, Imam Wardi Muhammad became the leader. And he involved himself, one of the first act as the leader of the community was to visit the Washington Hebrew Synagogue, but with Rabbi Joshua Haberman, and Rabbi Haberman then came to the Al Mosque in Chicago. Simultaneously to that, he was involved in the World Conference of Religion and Peace. It used to be known as World Conference of Religion and Peace. So being one of his assistants, probably I think one of his top assistants, I got heavily involved in interfaith. And in fact, so much so that when I was sort of estranged from the leadership, not from him, but the leadership in the community, I began to get heavily involved in interfaith. And so much so that I was the person. Someone asked me once, "Do you know the Dalai Lama?" I said, "No, I don't know the Dalai Lama, but I know who the Dalai Lama is." They said, "Do you know Imam Muhammad?" I said, "Certainly I know Imam Muhammad." He said, "Well, the Dalai Lama would like to meet Imam Muhammad." And I arranged a meeting of Imam Muhammad and the Dalai Lama. I have been involved in interfaith work and what we call a trialogue. These be Christians, Jews, and Muslims. Later on, I represented the Muslim community, about probably 3 million of us, the Imam Muhammad Association, at the Religion for the Earth, which was an interfaith group of all the various communities. And I'm still involved uh, as a representative to what is called the World Conference of Religion and Peace. They now call it Religion for Peace, which includes the Jains, the Buddhists, the various iterations of Buddhism. And so I have been heavily involved. We tend most of the time to think about interfaith as between the three major religions. But Imam Muhammad was one of the pioneers and what we call the non-heavenly religions. Those are revealed religions. Well, I understand Buddhism, Shintoism, and most of the religions don't necessarily have a concept of theism, but it has a concept of enlightenment. So it required me to study. I mean, I actually have formal training in world religions. I attended the Hartford Seminary, and I'm probably a few courses short of a master's in Islamic and interfaith Christian Muslim relationship with a minor in interfaith relationship. I'm now currently a graduate student at the University of Chicago, where my emphasis will be on ethical leadership. So I will perhaps be reading a lot of the Bhagavad Gita and a lot of other religious books and studying the writings of people like the Dalai Lama. I have to tell you a very interesting story about interfaith. I was in a place called Woodstock, New York, which is famous for the great Woodstock. And I was in this restaurant, and I heard everybody. I saw everybody fawning over this very tall lady. And I said, "What the hell is she?" That's what I said out loud. And they said, "Oh, that's Uma Thurman." "Who is she?" They said, "She's the actress." I thought, I don't know. Since most of my life, I've never been interested in popular culture. So I didn't know which one. They said she was in Kill Bill. I said, "What is Kill Bill?" I thought it was something to do with President Bill Clinton. So they said, "No, she's a movie actress." I said, "Oh, can I ask her? Does she know Robert Thurman?" And she looked. Stars are pretty stricken when people don't know them. So she said, "That's my father." Well, I said, "How's your father doing?" So I know Robert Thurman, who is a professor of Tibetan Buddhism at Columbia University, probably the foremost authority on the Dalai Lama. He studied under the Dalai Lama before he was the Dalai Lama. So I've been heavily involved in the interfaith. And I believe in this time of COVID that the creator and the forces in the earth are telling us all to stop and think of ourselves as one human family. And until we get it, we may have Omicron, we'll have another Crom, we're going to have something to stop us until we come into the awareness of what Dr. King called the World House. The last book of Dr. King's book, last chapter of Dr. King's last book was called the World House. And he talked about the Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu concept of God is love. So I didn't mean to give you a dissertation, but that's a little bit introduction to Virgin May Desmond's boy's interest, which has been a preacher all of my life. and my life has expanded to include heavily interfaith work.
I'm glad you said that because I almost feel like it was in your cards because you were heavily involved in Christianity prior to becoming a Muslim, correct?
Yes,
You were even a preacher as a child?
yes, I was. Well,
hmm
I say I am because I'm still a child.
You know what? Aren't we all? You
I
know?
was telling a future bride of mine, I said, you know what? Don't get it wrong. I may be mom, I may be this, but I'm really a big baby and I need a lot of nurture. So I'm still a child.
You know what?
I'm Virgin May's child, but I hope to be someone else's child.
I accept that and I receive that because we never fail to need nurturing and care. And I found the story you told about actually how you got involved in the Muslim religion and your mother's reaction very interesting. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Yes, well, my mother, Virgie Mae Desmond, was the daughter of a slave, Lula Allen,
hmm
and she was the eldest child of my grandfather and my grandmother. And my grandmother and grandfather had broken up. So my mother became the head of the household. It's very strangely, slavery created some very strange things. In fact, peculiar things. That so much so that one scholar called Kenneth Stamps wrote a book called "The Peculiar Institution." But anyway,
Uh-huh.
this peculiarity caused my mother to be pretty much the household head. As the oldest daughter of my mother, my grandmother, and my grandfather, they split up. My grandmother took the boys and left the girls. So she became a super religious person.
I
And
see.
I still am her baby boy. That's after many years of healing and psychotherapy and psychoanalysis, I can say with all honesty, I am Virgie Desmond's son. But anyway, grew up in Lynchburg. You probably heard of Jerry Falwell. I knew the Falwell family. I grew up in a very super Bible belt, fundamentalist Christians. John 3:16, John 1:14. John 1:14 says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father except by me. So actually, when I start exploring other religions, Unitarian, Catholic, and ultimately the Muslims, my mother almost had a heart attack. She didn't mind me going to all these places because she knew that there was only where I was going to end up at with Jesus Christ as Lord. And
hmm
when I made the decision to change my religion or evolve, I would say, she she had a very difficult time with that. And in fact, such a difficult time, I hope some of the family members aren't listening. They probably will listen. But she literally tried to kill me. So I was her favorite boy, destined to be a preacher,
hmm
had been taken to meet the great preachers, and my mother being an extraordinarily shy lady, took me to meet the like of Vernon John Martin Luther King Sr., and I've been in all those great men's companies. I used to listen
hmm
to Aretha Franklin's father on the radio. So I was preacher, little preacher boy, my preacher boy. But the little
hmm
preacher boy disappointed mama, and I have a psychoanalytic biography that one day would come out called Virgie's Dream, Virgie's Nightmare. Her dream was for her son to be a great preacher. Her nightmare was for him to be a thinker. And I began to tick on the rational side of my life with my father. And for some odd reason, she hated my father and she grew to hate me. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
much so we never reconciled before she passed. But after 32 years of deep meditation and a lot of psychoanalysis and a lot of trials and a lot of errors, I have finally come to peace and say what they say in psychoanalysis, resolution that I can actually say I'm Virgil's boy. So I'm Virgil's boy because of the fact is at the same time I have integrated my spirituality to her because she's a deep spiritual person.
hmm
But at the same time, she was a very humorous person. And
hmm
my father was such a serious and rational activist person. I'd
hmm
never seen him laugh a day in my life. But my
Wow.
mother always had laughter so much so. that she would laugh and tears would come out of her eyes. And I tried to become her son every day.
Refrigerator? Can you put it in the refrigerator? In el frío. Refrigerator. Frío. Yes, frío. Habitación, room.
Hey, sir, Mr. Stevenson, Mr. Stevenson. You am I putting the mic on mute? You mind putting your mic on mute until you're ready to talk?
I did it for him.
Okay, so I wanted to just say what a beautiful and powerful journey you just shared. And my heart celebrates you, and it also breaks to know that you were not able to uh, reconcile with your mom in the physical form, and what maturity and an evolution it takes to go ahead and reconcile with her after death. And that is not lost on me at all, because this is not a person that you were estranged from when you were young. This is a person that you loved and respected. And then after you decided to come into your own in your own thinking, that is what ripped you apart.
Yes, yes. Her conception of me versus the reality of me.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, one of my sisters almost made me cry. I was at a funeral of one of my brothers who she favored later on over me. And she said, you know, Mama said she never understood you. And that's the last thing that any child would like to say, that that parent didn't understand it. But, you know, there's an old song they sing in the church, we will understand it by and by, Lord, by and by. And so by and by, I understand. And I believe we are now united in spirit. Every time I go to a gathering, I'm with some Christian Muslims, or I was at a big, the Religion for Peace, and it's a preparatory meeting for the Parliament of World Religions. I said, Mama, I'm in the company of some good Christians and some other great people.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. You know what? We have only truly, I mean, we can pass our wealth on to our children, but every parent is really hoping to pass on their faith, right? Their faith and their traditions and their honor onto their children. So I can see where there might be heartbreak on your mother's part, um, as she reflected upon you and had so much hope in that future for you.
Yes, I think sometimes we can have a narrow view of our children. I
Hmm.
have never allowed my religious understanding or my faith understanding to interfere with other people. So consequently, I've kept friendship with Baptist preachers, the great Gardner Calvin Taylor, one of the greatest preachers of all time. None of those people I have broken with. I'm very friendly. I'm still friendly with members of the Nation of Islam, even though I'm
Hmm.
not friendly with the leaders of the Nation of Islam, i.e. Minister Farrakhan. We don't have share friendship. But I do share friendship with his members, and I share 99% friendship, even though we differ substantially.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, it's something that Minister Farrakhan taught years ago. You can be disagree, but not be disagreeable.
Oh
Uh,
my, if the world could learn that lesson, right?
yes, and I wish he'd learned that lesson, but that's a whole nother story. I
Wait a
don't
minute.
really wish to.
Burn.
I have such good relationship. One of his members said to me, and I hope they are not listening, but I said to him, I love you, but I know your minister. He said, well, it's hard for you to love me and not love my leader.
Wait a
Well,
minute.
uh,
I said, wait a minute. Are you the king of shade? Because I,
well, I
you throw
grew
it.
up under a shade tree, so I mean, I guess I understand.
Oh my goodness, I'm loving it. I
I
am loving
just didn't want to give that member, those sincere brothers and sisters,
it. Uh-huh.
any misconception about Brother Minister Farrakhan. As I told one of them, I knew him before you knew him,
Okay.
and I protected him, so I knew him very well. It's not like I don't know him. So it's like, you know, how can anyone tell me about a sister I grew up with? You don't
Okay.
know her. You didn't live in the house with her. I lived and traveled with Minister Farrakhan, so I know him, but I don't want to spend much time on him. Uh,
Well,
I do
that,
want to spend time on what we have to do. And I think it's time for all the faith communities, all the people of goodwill to work on one of the most pressing public health and spiritual problems of our time. And that is ending the violence that goes on in the African American community or the kin killing kin. So I had actually planned to convene a conference very shortly of Buddhists and others to help in this mission of bringing peace in these neighborhoods. And I believe that a lot of our young people, if they could learn meditation, if they could learn mindfulness, they
mm-hmm.
wouldn't have the time or the energy to kill each other. And they would
Mm,
I'm
be
so
so imbued with self love and self affirmations and see themselves connected to a wider society and a wider creation. It would hurt them to realize they're hurting someone. So we
that's a
plan to
fact.
share that message. Yes.
Mm,
I really
that's
agree with you. I'm sorry, Jen.
no, that's okay. Go on.
I was just going to say I really agree with you, and it seems like you're wanting our community to really focus on a level of consciousness through meditation.
Yeah.
And we're wanting them to understand the true value of oneself, because if you don't value yourself, it's very difficult for you to value others.
I'm almost it's impossible. It's impossible to value it. You can't value others. We are reflection. I mean, Michael said it better than I could say it, the man in the mirror. But the man in the mirror is composed of what man in mind. I'm composed of my mother, my father, and everybody I've come in contact with. So I have to speak to that person in
Mm-hmm.
me. All those different people that have been in me, all those people I've interacted with. So my world is connected to the larger world. I'm even
Mm-hmm.
connected to the well in the sea. That's why I have to be so conscious of dropping plastic on the ground that later on going to choke that whale's family or that partner's family or maybe an alligator's family up because he can't, he dies of a fixation. So once we have a global consciousness, a consciousness of the creation, with its most choice of the creation, the human being, we will have gathered a kind of sacredness of ourselves.
I love that phrase. Now, I do believe that the other gentleman, and perhaps Jen had a question they wanted to jump in.
No, 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 no. The other gentleman, we saving them. We saving them for a little bit later. We have a is a special case that we're about to talk about, and that's why the gentleman's here. So we'll bring him up later. We'll bring him up later.
Okay. And I
Mm.
don't want to overstep you, Jen.
No, that's okay. No, I was just going to comment about the meditation and the mindfulness because that's one of the campaigns that the Dalai Lama has been pushing for is to start teaching kids not only physical health in school but mental health, and mindfulness is really a game changer in the way we, you could say, conduct life. And I think it's very hard to harm somebody mindfully, you know. So if everybody was taught this from a young age, even as far as kindergarten, you could start off with 3 minutes, 3 minutes, or just teaching kids. I tried to plug this with my own young one too, just subtly, but just think about what you're doing, say what you're doing, your emotions, your actions, your thoughts, notice your thoughts, and teach kids how not to attach to negativity and negative thoughts that we all get. And I do think that that's a game changer, and I think that's how you change generations.
Hmm. Iman, can you tell us how mindfulness might connect with appreciation?
I'm a very rational person and can be quite emotional too. So mindfulness, I actually took a course in mindfulness by focusing and just focusing on the breathing. One detaches themselves but reattaches themselves. Does that ever make sense? Detach from the world and kind of observe oneself, and it puts you in another place, and it brings an inner peace and an inner connectedness, but not a lot of thought. See, the problem with the Western mind is so rational that it negates that we are part of a wider world. So to be mindful, even of one, some most elementary thing is breathing, brings a degree of peace.
Oh, that's a fact. Now, I was going to ask you, in the light of his recent death, have you ever had the opportunity to meet, or do you know anything about Thich Nhat Hanh?
I do know him of him by reading about him through Dr. King. I am
Mm-hmm.
familiar with him, not as familiar as I would like to be.
Mm.
I do know about now. Who's speaking now? I don't see you're not on camera. I always like to talk to people that are on
Oh,
camera.
I'm Jen. I'm the white cat picture. I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
I'm Jen. I'm up in the corner. Let me see. I didn't do my hair, so let me see if I
Well,
could.
we love it. We be mindful. We want to see you, hey, ladies. I don't like to go on camera with people I don't see.
Let
Let's
me.
come on the camera so I can see you and be
Sure.
mindful of you.
Let me grab a hat because my hair is not looking good.
It's okay. You
Well,
probably look
Iman, I
pretty.
have to tell you, us girls are very concerned about our
I
hair.
know. And
No, no,
I have a bit of vanity too. I go to the barber shop and get my hair colored every week. So hey, yeah,
no, but yeah,
y'all ain't
yeah,
got
but
one up on them.
yeah, I mean that's no, but that's the way Jen always presents herself. She always presents herself with a logo, so that's just the way it is. Because we usually focus on you. We usually focus on the on the guests. We don't usually focus on ourselves. So
I'd
it's
like to.
more of a radio type of show.
I just be honest. I'd love to see whom I'm talking with, not just a
No problem.
logo,
Let me
because
get.
the logo doesn't help me to be mindful, to be connected to your spirit. I'm not connected. You're a person. So anyway,
All
So,
right.
you know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the idea of spirit. Oh,
thank
there's
you.
Jen. Hi,
Thank
Jen.
you. And you look great.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you? Nice.
I'm good. All human beings look beautiful, and all human beings, we need to connect through the eyes, through the senses, and through the eyes, we pick up spirit. So now I pick your spirit up, and I'm honored to pick your spirit, and I set my spirit to your spirit, and we are connected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to say, I'm happy to see everyone, Mr. Pelu and Jen. I don't know this gentleman's name, but he's on camera, so it's all
He
very
is
lovely.
the Honorable Mr. Robert Stevenson. And I
Ah,
must tell you a bit before you all go to interrogate me again. I want to tell you what happened, how I met Mr. Stevenson. I tend to watch more YouTube than I watch anything else. And one day I was watching, I used to watch all the time a program called DC Born Rob. Robert Christmas, I believe his name is. He's on YouTube. So I was
mhm.
having I watch him I just like how he presented himself. It's very entertaining. And so one day, Father's Day last year, I was having a very miserable Father's Day. I have 6 children. I hadn't heard from any of them. I think one of them. And your father, I'm very paternal. And I said, oh man, what did I do all these sacrifices for these children? I heard nothing from. So
Mm.
I turned on DC Born Rob. And the Stevenson brothers were on he was talking about these 2 young men who were being held in Ecuador. And when I looked at them, I knew that they were not guilty of murder because I remember I worked in penal institutions. I worked in federal and state and local prisons. I can look at a person's eyes and almost tell you he's guilty. I'm serious. I don't use that as an empirical basis, but I read people very well. And one of these things I heard from my grandmother. She wanted to give me that gift of being a conjurer. Well, I do have spiritual gifts, and that's one of them. I'm very good at reading people. But anyway, I looked at these poor young people that were arrested in Ecuador, and I said, I'm going to do something about that case. So I dropped my bluebird pancakes and I went home and I reached out to DC Born Rob, and DC Born Rob reached out to me, reached back to me, and I began to call senators and all that. Some of you may know I'm also a practicing politician. I hope I'm a good one. But I'm a city councilman in London, and I know most all of the important people in America. I'm probably 2 phone calls away from the president. Not that I've reached him,
Mhm.
but I expect to
In New
reach him.
Jersey, right? New Jersey,
And
Linden, New Jersey.
as a result of that fact, I've taken on this case, and I'm not going to be satisfied until I can walk the Stevenson brothers into the airport at Quito, Ecuador, and bring them back to America. It's a case I won't let go. I've worried every senator. Mr. Stevenson came in, and now he's been actually adopted as my brother. And his children, I told them to make an obligation that when they come and I get this new home, that they're going to at least cut my grass so they've been adopted as my son. And that's the case.
Love
I
it.
won't stop. Ministry, whether I'm speaking, I was on the Tavis Smiley show Monday, and that case has consumed me. And I've sent my spirit into Ecuador, in that I will not take it out. I will haunt people there until these young men, who I've read the legal papers, they're not guilty. They've been framed, and they are now doing 33 years in
Mhm.
prison for a murder that they didn't commit because of envious, jealous people there. So, anyway, enough for the case. Mr. Stevens will take you further into that. I know you all didn't invite me on just for that, but I have to tell you what bothers my heart, and being mindful,
Mhm.
I can't I can't let go of this case. It
Well,
affects
Iman,
my
I
life.
I just want to say, honestly, I feel thankful for you sharing that with us, and I hope that you're able to get it connected to the Innocence Project, where there's a team of lawyers and a lot of eyes, um, working on that with you, because there's nothing like a team to get something done. There's power
Well,
in
I would
numbers.
be very happy to be. We're in touch with several people, including, well, I won't name them, but the top people in the House and in the Senate.
Hmm.
And the Innocent Project could help. I don't know what they do overseas cases or not, but you can certainly pass that. If you in touch with Bob Robert Sheck or any of the rest of those people, you could certainly pass it on to them. We need all the help we get, but we
Yes,
need all your meditation, all your prayers, all your good wishes, all the energy to bring these people home. And
yes,
I'm going to reach out to the Vatican. If any of you have a contact with the Dalai Lama, I know he has issues that he has to deal with, but we need to make this. This is an international case of 2 young people, and if this can happen to them, it can happen to anybody. And I am my ministry, the Imam Alfred Mohammed Ministries, but we're dedicated to human rights all over the world.
well,
And this,
Iman, I'm
yes,
just going to invite you right now to discuss this in greater detail on my podcast. When we can put the pictures up and everything, we'll put it out there. But Steve, please go forth and share.
Yeah, please. I'm sorry, I wasn't properly introduced, Mr. Pelu. Would you like to, or
Yes. No.
would
No.
you like
No.
to
No.
start?
No. No.
Okay.
No. Because no, because oh yes, yes. Well, anyway, this is Mrs. Stevenson, and I don't know because before we let Mr. Stevenson talk and take it away because he has a lot to tell us. He has a lot to tell us about the case. Let's wrap things up with with Imam Alfred because he believed in us he believed in us surely. So let's wrap things up with Imam Alfred first.
Well, quite honestly, Iman, I don't know if I could ever wrap things up with you. I think you are a life journeys conversation. Um, I have barely touched the relationship that you had with your mother. If you don't mind, and you can say none of your business if you like, but it seems like a man that comes from your background who had a relationship with the one that many called Jesus. For me, Yahshua the Messiah. Um, just because you change religions, it does not necessarily make sense that you would change that relationship with with him. And I'm kind of curious, um, did that change for you? And I will say why what my thought process is. There are many Jewish people who still have a relationship and a belief in Jesus Christ as the Messiah. So it makes sense to me that you can be a Muslim and still have a relationship um, with Jesus Christ. Is that true? Tell me
Yes,
about
and I noticed you use the language of Yahshua. A large portion of my family came
it.
out of the same Sabbath keeping tradition of the great Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye, my cousin, I don't know whether you're from DC, but the Sabbath keepers, that movement kind of started out, if you call it the movement of church. They Sabbath keepers, my nephew, Sabbath keeper, my sister, the most spiritual one of us, 13 of us, is my sister Corrine, and she was a Sabbath keeper, and she recognized Yeshua. Let me just say this here about Christ Jesus, upon peace be, is that I recognize I am still connected to Christ Jesus as the Messiah,
Yeah.
as one who came in the world with peace. I would also introduce you all to somebody that you should very well know in the history of African American religion. One of the certainly one of the most important African American religious figures, and probably one of the most important American religious figures. It's Howard
Hmm.
K. Thurman.
Okay.
And Dr. Thurman was asked, he was an ordained Baptist preacher. He was asked, do you believe in Jesus Christ? He said, I believe in the religion of Jesus.
Hmm.
And I still believe in the religion of Jesus, which is love, compassion, and connections to human beings, and the power, the spirit of the creator that's within us all.
Hmm.
So, as I also say, I have never negated my background as an ordained Christian priest, and as the Reverend God the Calvin tells him, well, Mohammed, you know, we never took your license away from you. So anytime I am asked to answer the call of a Baptist or Christian pulpit, uh, let's just say I'm a pretty good preacher. I can preach, and I can
I
preach
can
about
see
the
how.
anointing of God, His love, and I'm motivated. I Let's tell you, I was visiting a church I grew up in, and so the lady said to me, Miss Penn, I'll never forget her. She said to me, and she could call me Alfred because she knew I was a preacher. She said, Alfred, do you yes, do you still are you still a preacher? Said, yes, Miss Penn. And I said, well, you know, I'm a Muslim now. She said, I didn't ask you what kind of faith you are. Do you believe in God? Miss Penn, you taught me as a little Sunday school student. I don't no longer believe in God. I know in God. I know his omnipotent, omnipresent power
Hmm.
that rules over us all. I didn't mean to get into, you know, when you get a, you
Well,
know,
you know,
this
you can
thing,
always take me there. I
y'all got me getting ready to preach, and Mr. Stevenson getting ready to come, and
Hey,
I better
hey,
get
no,
out there and
preach,
come
preach,
in.
no,
preach,
wait a
preach,
minute.
do preach.
One, I welcome the Spirit. I welcome the Holy Spirit at all times. Where I am, the Holy Spirit is welcome as well. And so, if we are going to celebrate God, I am here for it. Let's go.
Yeah,
Well, let me just share with you. This morning, I was thinking, I was reading the New York Times, and they now have in the field of psychotherapy the feel of people being fearful of what's going to happen to the planet. And most analysts and therapists are not trained to deal with this existential fear. People are terrified of how the planet is being abused. And it occurred to me, I'm a rational teacher. I teach a lot about scripture, what this means, what water means, what sun means, all the language of scripture. But every once in a while, people have to be inspired. And I ask God's spirit to come through me to share with people that there is a better way. There is a connection between us and all human beings. And ultimately, we'll have a God that's over us. And his spirit reigns through us. And with that, I'm going to do everything they would do in the service, but take up a collection. I'm going to give you all the benediction.
Yes.
Say to you all, and the namaste, as the Hindus would say, as the Baptists would say, and Christians would say, God bless you and heaven smile upon you. And to the lady whom I don't see, but I do see in my spirit eye, there she is. Ah, precious. You're going to make me, I wish I could sing that what Mahalia Jackson said, precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on. Or my favorite by Mahalia Jackson is, I thank God for how he brought me. I thank God for how he taught me. I thank God for the old time religion. I thank God for giving me vision. And with that, God bless you all. I pray that you will listen attentively to Mr. Stevenson, and I accept your beauty, even though you don't think it is, that we see your smiling face and your radiating spirit. It is good to gaze upon your eyes. And
it's
I
always
hope
good to have you. Thank you so much.
that you all will invite me back again, but just don't let this sister right here get to me, because she get to me. She's trying to get me to preach.
I got you now.
You got me. I need to get into some mindfulness. God bless you all. Peace, Shanti. Thank you. Namaste.
Peace, peace. Salam alaikum.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will now go off camera and listen to the Honorable Robert Stevenson, the father of Ronell and John Stevenson, two young men that we should lift up in prayer and meditation that are in prison. Mr. Stevenson, the floor is yours, because I'm going to leave the floor and I'm going to listen to you. Okay. And you're in capable hands of some great people, and I'm gratefully honored to the Creator to be in your presence. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you
for coming through. You're always
it's
welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
Stay blessed.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for, first of all, for you guys inviting me on to share the story of my life with kids. It's a nightmare that no one would want or would. Just a little background. Boy.
Mr. Stevenson.
Yes.
I think
unfortunately, your mic is breaking up just a little bit.
Okay, let me see if I can get any closer. Is it any better?
Much better. Much better.
Okay. First
Thank
of all,
you.
let me give my disclaimer. I'm actually in Ecuador, so probably some of the problems. I'm in Ecuador and I'm at a hotel, so probably part of my problems might also stem from that.
I see.
Any case, I'll just give a slight background. I'm from a family of 8 boys. We were originally born in South America, a little country called British Guyana. And we all migrated to the United States when we were very young. um, and in pursuit of higher education and a better life. In so doing, um, out of 8 of us, seven of us went to Howard University, and we basically all graduates of Howard. Um, my oldest brother is an MD. My second brother is an accountant by profession and has a management firm. My third brother did microbiology, has a PhD in microbiology. My background was law and engineering. Um, and my highest level was a master's degree in engineering. The brother, mechanical engineering. Brother after that did a PhD in synthetic chemistry.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
my
Mm-hmm.
brother after that did finance and management. My last brother did finance and management. So we all pursued with education was all because that's the parentage that we had. We thought that education was the door or the ticket out of or to get into life and
Hmm.
to get out of poverty or get out of not being able to provide for oneself. So in any case, we all branched off and did our own thing. Then came the point of me having 3 kids. Um, I have 2 boys and a girl. They all went off to university also. Um, 2 of my kids went to Ivy League school. My daughter did Cornell and graduated magna cum laude with neurology.
Wow.
And my son, which one of them that is Ecuador, went to Washington and Jefferson, a private university, and he graduated in business and finance after starting out in veterinary medicine. So after he graduated, part of his thing was that he wanted to get into agriculture and ecotourism. And part of that probably originated from the fact that I myself and family live in Maryland, but I live in a small town in Maryland called Boyds, the last designated area, agricultural preserve area in Maryland. It's part of Montgomery County. And so basically, he grew up knowing about farming and taking care of the and also he also worked on the farm with a vet doctor that lived a couple of I can't say blocks because when you live in the country you don't have blocks. I would say I'd say less than a quarter mile away from my. So once he was in college, his dream was to explore opportunities about setting up a farm. So in his junior year, he applied to ecotourist farms across the world. He applied to Hong Kong, Spain, Costa Rica, and Ecuador. And in so doing, um, Hong Kong responded. But when I realized that that farm that he would have gone to was a religious cult, I decided not that was not the way to go. Spain and Costa Rica didn't respond right away. Ecuador did, and so he went to work in Ecuador on a ecotourist farm that were run by 2 women that were from Australia, and he learned a lot. Now, a lot of people are going to say, "Well, why he chose Ecuador? Because Ecuador is Spanish." Well, when he was 3 years old, we started him out in Spanish, so he's bilingual from birth. So he spoke fluent Spanish long before he went to uh, because he did it in elementary, high school, middle school, high school, and college. In any case, he did that, and after he did that, he found that he had great ideas that he could set up his own ecotourism farm and probably do better. So he approached myself and wife about the idea. My wife really didn't like the idea, but I thought, like any young person, one ought to let them have and live their dreams. Once it's a dream is, that is founded in sense, in reality, and with sound ambition. And his own was sounded in sound ambition because he had documented um, in a very systematic way about how he would approach it and what he would put in place. So after doing all of that, and I realized how serious he was, I decided that I should try to support him. So he went to Ecuador in his first break, Christmas break, which was 2013, to look around to see what kind of farms he can get. And in so doing, um, he found some farms, and I told him just narrow it down to about four, and I will come and check it out for him, and we can make a decision. So he did exactly that, and in so doing, I went down and we found a farm in the Amazon region, uh, because the area that he was looking for initially was very mountainous. And lots of people were telling him, if you get something in the Amazon region, it would be great because it's tropical, which is something he loved. He didn't care for the cold. Secondly, because it's basically like a rainforest, vegetation grows very quickly, and he could have a lot of animals, especially cows and stuff like that. So we was able to find this one farm in that region. It was previously owned by a Canadian who went financially broke. He was trying to set up a um, a retreat, a religious retreat that dealt with um, acupuncture and meditation, but he couldn't sustain it because he ran out of capital. In any case, it was a beautiful farm. It was 130 acres. It came with four houses. Uh, Three of them really needed some work, real work. It came with three fish ponds, um, came with a pray tower, and lots and lots of different types of fruits and vegetables. So I told him, hey, it's a good idea. We can go for it. And one of the things that um, he said to me, which is something that I concurred, is that when my kids were born, I decided that I would put aside their college money, invest it partially on the stock market and some in mutual funds and stuff like that. But with time, my son and my daughter, because of being good at school, they both had scholarships to university. So I really didn't have to use their college funds to send them through university. And so I told them, all my kids, I said, if you guys use what God has blessed you with, at the end, I will reward you with the money I put aside for you. So that's one of the things that he brought to my attention, that he would want to use his money to help get his farm and his ecotourism going, with some help from myself and my wife too, for whatever shortcomings he might have had. So that's what he used to invest. So as soon as he graduated from university in 2014, he spent 2 weeks in the US and he packed up and moved to Ecuador onto the farm to set up his dream. And so he was there. I went down there with him, spent many weeks helping to streamline. So we had to do a lot of work on the farm because the previous owner, I think probably because he ran out of funds, had allowed a lot of things to go amok. So we went in, we cleaned up the farm, we did the houses, we did a driveway, I put in street lights, I put in cameras on all the buildings, And I mean, I made the farm look like a little town by itself. And I think that started to bring on some envy within the city that in which the farm was in, because some of the old businessmen who had business in the town never saw the potential in that farm, because a few of them will come by and say, I never knew this farm could have been this beautiful. And so it was always an envy. The other part that was troubling was because they didn't see him as a viable business person, because first they thought he was too young, and then they thought that he couldn't be too young because no young person could be wanting to do something like that. Secondly, no American or no foreigner will come to want to do something in that area. So he must have had some hidden agendas. But anyhow, as time progressed, he decided to acclimate with the people, the indigenous people that are in the area, the local Hispaniards. He kind of acclimated to them, and in order to be in much more in a helpful situation, he started to do bodybuilding. Through high school, he played football and he was a very good wrestler all the way through college. So he decided he was going to do bodybuilding, and he did it um, to the point where he became Mr. Universe for Ecuador twice. And so in order to show the people in the area, because they were not known to be recognized within the country as such, has always been so remote, he kind of put the area on the map. He donated his trophies and stuff to the town. And he will help with the high schools in teaching the kids for free English. When they have carnivals, he will sponsor groups and stuff like that in the local. So everybody in the town knew him, but there were always those folks who were envious. I think what propelled his troubles were after he started to become popular, the word started getting around that he is good. He could run for mayor of the town. His older brother, who was living in the U.S., he's an IT person, decided he would go down there and help him on the farm after a year in setting up certain technology and giving his input. And because he was the only one there, he had no friends that he knew before other than the ones he made when he was there. His brother decided that he probably needs someone to have his back. So he went down, and they were all developing the farm. They had cows, they had goats, they had chicken, geese, ducks. The fish pond had over 1,000 tilapias. It was a real farm. And then he set up a nightclub, and that was one of the next downfall that he had, because by setting up the nightclub, um, he did not have to have a license to open or to stay open, because the nightclub was on such a large farm. It was considered a reservation. So he could open any time of the day, all through the night, into the next day. And because of that, he drew a lot of the crowds away from the bars and the restaurants in the town. So that was another problem that he developed. But he didn't see it as an issue, because as far as he was concerned, a lot of the people who came to his club were mostly young people that could relate to his age group, and probably a little older. The older folks will probably rent the club on like a Thursday night or a Friday evening for karaoke, and he would always let them have it then. But all the other times he will have the club going. In any case, time progressed. He started to realize that somebody or some people were not on his side, because whenever he wasn't training for his meets for bodybuilding, he would not go into town. He would stay on the farm with his workers and stuff like that. And ever so often when I go to visit, because myself and wife will visit an average of 4 to 5 months in the year. I'd go for 6 weeks, come back, stay in the US for 2 months, go back for 4 weeks, and so we'd alternate. Um, Sometimes when I go, he would say to me, Dad, these people are really stupid. I said, well, why? He said, I haven't gone into town in a long time. Sometimes I haven't going to town for 3, 4 weeks because I'm not training. And he said, well, when I go into town, some of the business owners, the stores and stuff, they'd see me and they'd say, hey, John, I ain't seen you in a while, man. Where were you? Were you locked up? And he said, Dad, are they that stupid? I don't do anything. How are they going to lock me up? And I said, son, there's an old colloquial saying that when a blind man says he's going to pelt you with a stone, you already have the stone in his hand. Because if he's blind, he can't go looking for a stone. And he said, Dad, there is nothing they can do to me because I don't do anything to create any problems with anybody. I said, well, son, well, we'll see. But in any case, he did everything possible to fit in the community. When his birthday came around on the 4th of October, he used to have a big party on the farm. He would hire a bus to pick up people from all the different local areas, even on the Indian reservation, bring them in, and they could eat and drink for all they want for 4 hours. Then the bus will take them back. He would always get all little trinkets and give it to the kids so that they could be at home. But what kept bothering most of the people in the area is that they couldn't understand where this young man came to have this kind of money to do what he was doing. So it was always an issue. So anyhow, fast forward, in 2017, he got a contract with Tabasco pepper sauce to plant 20,000 peppers on the farm. And myself and wife went down and we spent 3 weeks with him, helping him with his workers to plant these peppers. And shortly after we came back, 1 week actually, when we came back, the US Embassy called me on a Saturday. Matter of fact, it was on my wife's birthday, March the 11th, and said, your sons were picked up. They busted the farm for um, drugs and a murder on the farm. And I said, okay. So immediately the embassy said they were going to send to the area the CIA representative attached to the embassy to investigate. And then within 3 days, I flew down, hired the best attorney that money could buy to look into the matter. Um, and as they started looking into the matter, they realized there was no substance to the case because the prosecutor on the case had tried to get a warrant to go to the farm on the basis that my sons had was a drug manufacturing, growing, production and distribution of drugs, and carried high power weapons, AK-47 magnums in their possession. I don't know where he got that from, but that was the information presented to the judge to get a warrant to go to the farm. 3 times the judge denied the warrant. On the 4th time, the judge was fed up and said, okay, you have a warrant for 12 hours. You can go. So he went. Of course, there were no high power weapons found. There were no drugs found. So the only thing was left hanging in the wilderness was to find a reason for the arrest. So after they removed my sons from the farm, took them away, the indigenous people who came with the police to do the raid on the farm, they were on the farm like since 3 o'clock in the morning. The police came to do the raid at 5 a.m. in the morning with the prosecutor. The police left after they found nothing on the farm. They no high power weapons, no drugs. They said they found some Ziploc bags which was flour in it because of the area. My son's things like flour, sugar, and anything of powdered form. Once you open it, because of the atmosphere, it used to absorb the smell. So they would put things in Ziploc bags. So the police picked that up and said it was cocaine. Anyhow, they got that, and so they were arrested. When the evidence was explored by some of the local prosecutors, one of the things that was also wrong about the process, the local police did not go to the raid on the farm because they knew my sons and they knew there was no drugs growing on the farm, or they never distributed any drugs because the police never even presented to the prosecutor never presented to the judge any evidence of any transaction, any money passed hands or anything like that. Anyhow, the government, the prosecutor went public and put it on the CNN in Ecuador. And the government now decided they had to investigate further because the evidence wasn't adding up. 2 weeks into their arrest, the um, prosecutor, the supervisor for the prosecutors in that area, realized that this prosecutor fabricated a story and arrested them wrongfully. So that prosecutor was fired and debarred for life. But the government was now stuck with a case that they couldn't get rid of. The indigenous people who were left on the farm when the police left, 3 hours later said they found two bodies on the farm. And they said these bodies were two bodies that were killed by my sons. So that was the thing that made the case continued, because basically the drugs and the guns were never found. They tried to get the prosecutors to take over the case. 4 prosecutors refused to because they said everything that was done was illegal. The gun case went to court and the judge kicked it out. The drug case went to court and the government lost that. So the only case left now was the murder. And now the people who were behind trying to get the farm insisted that the government had to find a way to convict them for the murder, because without that there was nothing left for them to hold. So now the bodies that were found on the farm, they were not murdered, they were buried alive. So they said that my sons buried them alive on the farm. Okay, 2 young men in their mid to late 20s. One of them was a very good friend of my son, and my son used to have him as a DJ at the club. He used to work for my son at one point. My son helped him to get on Mr. Ecuador and playing music, because my son did music all the way from elementary school into college. He played the piano, he played the guitar, he did the drums. So he was one of them that died, was found buried alive. Okay. Any case, the case went to trial. There was no evidence other than the fact that they were found on my son's farm. And so the prosecutor and the judges were threatened by the local people if they didn't find them guilty, that their family will be killed, which is something they do in that part of the country anyway, part of Ecuador. You know, if a judge rule against what some of the groups want, they will kill the judge. In any case, they found them guilty and sentenced them for 24 years and 6 months. And then my son, I hired an appeal attorneys from the capital because we wanted the case to go to the national court. And the appeal, when it was heard, first locally, in the local area where the farm was, the judges got upset because the new attorney, the appeals attorneys that were hired, said that everything on the case was illegal. The judges had no right to be on the murder case because it's double jeopardy. They heard the prior cases. No part of the world, any judge hearing one case will hear the next case, the same case, another case of the same people. So they filed for something on the legal terms called to get the judges recused. And of course, their counterparts in the area was the one to hear that motion to get the judges removed. Because we were asking for impartial judges to be on the case. They denied it, and as such, when the appeal came up, the same judges who tried the case for the drugs, same case for the gun, was the same judges for the murder. They were very upset, and so they said for mitigating circumstances, they can use that to enhance their sentence. So they raised their sentence from 24 years and 6 months to 34 years and 6 months by 10 years. Okay, so from there, that's where the battle starts because now we have to fight the case in the Ecuador Supreme Court. It appears that no one in the Supreme Court no judge in the Supreme Court wants the case because everything about the case is wrong. The Constitution, the judges never followed. The trial evidence was not there. You know, at the time of trial, there were so many inconsistencies with people who gave statements. They said the guys rode their motorcycle to the farm. They never found the motorcycle. They said they were dug up from the farm. The pathologist that did the autopsy on the body when he was on the witness stand and was cross-examined, and he indicated that the dirt that was found in their lungs because they were buried alive, so they were breathing still, was not the dirt from that farm. So um, it was a preponderance of ridiculousness. In any case, the case now sits in the hands of the Supreme Court in Ecuador, hoping that the judges there, normally it's a three-panel judge, but no judge wants to take the case on appeal on the basis that if they rule, the government now is liable for huge compensation to my son. And if that's the case, the Supreme Court judges in Ecuador are only put in there at the behest of the president or the judicial system. So if they rule, they can be fired. They would lose their high paying job. So nobody wants to take that on. So now we're in a quagmire of how we get the solution to the problem. And that's basically. Mm-hmm.
Just thank you, first of all. Thank you for walking us through um, your circumstances, your son's circumstances. Um, it is so very appreciated. And I can tell that you're fully invested in their journey. I also want to just ask about the family of the two murdered victims.
Mm-hmm.
What is their position?
They wanted $1 million.
They want $1 million.
Mm-hmm. US.
Okay. So just curious, if you gave them $1 million, then what?
The matter would disappear.
The matter would disappear if you had $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead, Pelu.
No. I just want to ask. No. I was going to ask Jen, what are her thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening in horror. Like this is crazy. There's blackmail, there's fraud, there's corruption. I mean, I'm just listing off all the offenses that this government is making, and to sit here in 2022 like we can't do anything is wild to me. Like, how is this happening in this year? This guy's literally getting blackmailed, like $1 million and the problem will go away. Well, I mean, in cases like this, it's like, is the American judicial system any better? Like, would they have been better off if this happened in America? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that level of corruption is on just such a different level. It makes me kind of understand how there's a crisis of people trying to get in our country from South America.
Mhm.
It's crazy. It's insane. Like, I'm just listening to this. Like, how is this happening in this day and age? It's mind blowing.
Mhm.
I definitely sense this idea of a constant power struggle. It seems that your sons were getting warning signs
Yeah.
uh, long before Jen, Mr. Pelu, and myself were talking about um, the idea of power and basically how people view it. And just listening to you, I heard so many warning shots about basically saying that your son was overstepping his bounds and that he was not welcome and that he was not honoring whatever system that they had in place when it came to authority and wealth.
Yeah.
That's not his fault,
Yeah.
but as you told the story, I definitely heard the warnings.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
seems to me that they want compensation more than they want justice.
Of course. Initially, they had asked because when we bought the farm, we bought it for under 200,000 US. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, that area, which is called Polora, and in Spanish, is what is called tranquility and love and tranquility in English. Um, the government had designated that area as the next tourist resort. So, but initially, before the government started to do work to make it the fully a next tourist resort of Ecuador or a retirement area for expatriates to move to, they had to link that area to the actual other parts of Ecuador. And what separated that area was a big river. And the way we got over from the main part of Ecuador to that area, it used to be there was one bridge that only a car can go over at a time because it could only take a weight of a car. The other way, there was a bus that used to drive onto a pontoon, and then the pontoon will take off, go over the river, and then the bus will drive off. Same thing as how they used to get supplies, a tractor or trailers or stuff like that. Trucks will drive onto a pontoon. But because the government decided to make it the next tourist resort, they put in a $10 million bridge linking the two places, the two parts. Now traffic can drive over. In so doing, the property went from like 3.5, 3,500 per acre. It went to $20,000 per acre. Not per
So,
acre, not per acre, sorry, per hectare. Because it's 50 hectares, is 130 acres. So it was like 3,500 per hectare. So we paid just under 2,000 for 200,000 for it. So when it went to 20 hectares, it was worth close to over $1 million US. So that was the problem right there, because everybody wanted the farm.
and so whose hands is the farm in now?
Well, the government had seized it initially and still has it, but I still pay the taxes on the farm. The farm is still there. The indigenous leader that wanted the farm, after they were arrested, burnt the houses down and stole everything from the homes before they did that. And then he went ahead, even though the farm was not in his name, he used to list it for sale. And he was able to get, at least from what I understood, about 3 or 4 people who made a deposit to buy the farm. And then he walked away with their money because he couldn't transfer a title.
Hey Jen,
So
what do you think? Oh, hold on for a second. Hey Jen, what are you thinking?
No, I'm just actually, I was looking for some videos. I see that they've done some interviews. I was trying to find a quick one while you guys are talking. That's all right. Carry on. I'm good.
Okay, okay.
it's not lost on me that they want the value of the farm. He said
Yes.
the farm would be worth $1 million, and that
Mhm.
happens to be the exact amount of money that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Exactly. Convenient.
Yes, very convenient.
Mm.
Hmm. So this has been going on since 20
2017 March.
March 2017.
Hmm.
And now we're in 2022. How are your boys? How are their spirits?
That's the $1 million question. Um, they were, first of all, in a, not in a prison, was more like a prison camp at first.
Hmm.
Um, and then because they weren't coming up with the money, they were transferred to a high level prison in
Hmm.
where lots of killings go on. Matter of fact, last February, they had an uprising in the prison where they were, and 35 inmates got killed brutally. When I say brutally, kind of almost like cannibals. They will. The prisoners have guns. The prisoners have guns. Eh? They have guns in there. They have some of the best guns. They have grenades in there, and of course they have all kinds of other weapons like knives, like that, machete, spears, and stuff. But the inmates, there's a lot of gang warfare within the prison, and so people have to align themselves either one way or the other. And even if you try to stay neutral, you are always seen to be targeted as being on one side or the other. So it's extremely dangerous. It's extremely deadly because when they kill some of the inmates, they don't just kill them either by shooting them or stabbing them. But after they kill them, they cut off their head, they cut off their hand, their feet, and they videotape it. Eh? The one time, one of the guys that were killed, they cut his chest open, take out his heart, and they video with his heart jumping in their hand. It's, it's unbelievable. And as much as it might sound outlandish, if any one of you are strong enough to look at a video, I could forward you one of the videos. It will make you sick for the rest of your life. In any case, um, we were fighting for the longest while to get them moved. Finally, this year, um, we were able to get my younger son moved back to where he was. A judge ruled that it was illegal for them to be moved. My oldest son, after fighting with the prison system and finally getting the U.S. Embassy to get involved, which they weren't involved like they should have been from the beginning because it probably would not have gone this far. Um, he was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. So, so they had to take him out of the prison after fighting them for 2 months, in which case he lost 50 pounds. And when they realized he was close to death, they transferred him out to a hospital. And they had to do emergency surgery on him in November. And because of that, they he's now wearing a bag. And I had to hire a new attorney in the city where he was to file a complaint against the prison. And in so doing, a judge ruled that he can never go back to prison. He has to stay in the hospital for treatment. So that's one of the reasons I'm here because he's in the city. I had to move him from a public hospital to a private hospital where he is now. And so he's undergoing chemotherapy. He just finished his third dosage of chemotherapy, which he gets intravenously. So he actually lives in the hospital. He's not released. The judge ruled that he can never go back to prison, at least without his order. Secondly, that they cannot move him from that hospital unless they get his order. And third, that he has to be treated there, but I have to pay for it. Even though the law in Ecuador says he is an award of the state and the state is responsible for all his medical expenses. But because I want him to live, I decided I will take the responsibility of doing this part. This part, because if it comes down to that at the end, I could always sue the government. But that is not important. My son's life means more to me. So he's gotten 3 doses of chemo. And now, to compound his illness, he got the COVID. And,
Uh,
and so while they couldn't continue his chemo treatment for the last 3 weeks. And now they're about to start back his chemo. I was told this evening he has TB.
he has TB.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So now I have another battle to fight.
Oh, my goodness.
This is it is incredible. How is your wife? How is
Uh,
their mother?
she's taking it in stride. Mark you, like I said, I am here. She comes ever so often, but it's hard on her because, you know, you don't see something like this happening. You don't see something like this coming. And I think it's harder on her because of the fact that even if you're blind, you see all the wrong. And to know that they were walking the straight and narrow road trying to do all the right things, I think it has to bother her more than anything else. But I take it because I realize it's part of life.
You have is it 7 brothers? Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes,
So it's a total of 8 of you,
yes,
correct?
yes.
Can you tell me how the family has participated in this journey?
They're all 100% support. It's basically anything I've asked of them, they're willing to do. They have made it emphatically clear to me that money should never be the issue. So I don't have to worry about that.
That's good.
Hey, hold on. Hey, Jen, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, so in the YouTube chat, I've posted some just searching on YouTube, and I found a page called Justice Ecuador.
Yes,
Also, that has it says evidence, some evidence, start of our Ecuador journey, evidence video 1, evidence video for Ecuador, there's DNA. Yeah, so I posted the link to that video. And also that's a hashtag. I posted also in the chat hashtag Justice Ecuador, and you can find many videos and interviews that they have done on different YouTube channels. So some of them for about 6-7 months ago. But yeah, it looks like they've done some interviews with couple different people on YouTube. So trying to get their story out and trying to get some awareness for this, you know? I mean, I know it's probably few and far between, but is there anything that somebody from the outside can do? What is there somebody we can contact? Do you have a is there anyone in the American government that we can write to, or what do you suggest that what could we do possibly to help you?
Okay, let me tell you what has been done on the US side. Okay, there is a NGO called Global Liberty Organization, and they are as NGOs and also NGOs and normally nonprofit. They are linked to another NGO out of Pennsylvania that work on cases of Americans being illegally held overseas. And they have been looking at it. They did their own research. They did their own investigation, information gathering, and they have started to try to connect to congressmen and senators. Their biggest drive, though, is going after um, the State Department because what they want the State Department to do is to remove this case from being in the consulate section, which it is right now, because it's the consulate section in Ecuador as the case. So the section in the State Department called the hostage section, because through, I think Obama sets it up. It's called the Malinsky Act. I think it's the Malinsky, that any Americans that are being held unjustly should be classified as hostage. And if they're classified as hostage, um, there is a hostage ambassador that can go to that country and make the proclamation to the president of that country that these individuals are hostages. If they are hostage, then America has the right to take whatever necessary steps to fix it. Some of the measures are one, to impose sanctions. Two, any fundings that the country gets from America via Congress could be withheld. Three, America could send in its troops to, to retrieve their citizens. Or they could sanction all the people of which this particular company is doing. They put it together, the list of judges, prosecutors, whoever was supposedly and submitting it to the State Department to make sure none of them have a visa to the United States. If they do, it will be pulled. And the fifth thing is any money that Ecuador has in the banks of America, they can put it. Now, in terms of what you can do, there are congressmen, either your own personal congressman or the congressmen and senators that we have touched base with. I've touched base with Congressman Van Hollen, which is Senator for Maryland, my jurisdiction. Ben Cardin, who's also another senator for that area. David Torn is my congressman. I have literally spoken to Ed Meese, who is the chairman for the Senate Foreign Service Committee. I have sent documents to Menendez in New Jersey via Imam for them to look at. Congressman Meeks have a lot of the documents and is trying, at least that's what he says, to get the Secretary of State's attention to the matter. But all of these individuals, congressmen and senators, we have signed off waivers for them to implement and institute any investigation they want to please their heart, to make sure that they haven't been let down or wouldn't be let down a path that could lead any form of embarrassment to them. And so far, no one has come back and say everything that was said or shown either by video or by documentation to be untrue.
Mm.
I mean, the the taste of the pudding is many of the best attorneys in Ecuador knows the best, and every one of them fall.
We're having technical difficulties. Technical difficulties.
Mhm.
I see. You gave, Mr. Stevenson, you gave a list of um, things that would be helpful, and perhaps we could get that in writing so
Mhm.
that we can post it in our communities and our social medias. That way, people can honestly find out where it's easiest for them to take action
Okay,
and then pursue those avenues.
okay, that's fine. And don't be afraid. After this podcast, if you have any questions or anything that might fit your mind because you think of, I'm willing to share my email, my phone number, um, so that you could always reach out to me and ask me any question. I could point you not only to the answers or give you the answers, but I could also point you into people who could also answer those questions for you. Because the NGO law firms that picked up this case to work on, they are doing it pro bono. They don't want a nickel from me. And so the good thing about that part is that they themselves, before they decided to sign on, they did their own private investigation to ascertain the credibility of the case before they sign on to take it. And
Hmm.
once they got the credibility, they said, you know what, we don't need money for this. This is just too ridiculous to take money for.
Wow, it's
Hey,
incredible.
okay. Hey, Jen, what you got?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm just looking. So do you have, is there any kind of, do you guys have like a website or something put together or some main social media page, that you would like to promote? Like, where could I send people? I know I see, the interviews that they've done on YouTube with the hashtag. Like, is there any website or place that you have that to display information?
Um, I think my son set up, I think that just, I haven't really looked in depth at the Justice Ecuador to see what it's all about because I've been bombarded from every big corner possible. And, my days sometimes on a minimum of 4 hours of sleep. That's it. Uh, so I haven't been able to touch to see, but I think Justice Ecuador, sorry, has a website. There is also a Facebook page that they set up, um, and I think there is also a link to Rob Christian with DC Rob that also links to all kinds of stuff. Um, but like I said, I'm willing to share my email with you. Uh, uh, if there's anything, there's also um, the one of the main attorneys from the NGOs that is on. His name is Jason Peblito, and he is always willing to talk and fill anybody in completely outside of my input or my son's input. Because, like I said, they took on the legal part of the case from the United States side, and they're the ones that are bombarding State Department because one of the things that he made emphatically clear to State Department and even to some of the congressmen is that, he can muddy the water real nasty by sending out some emails with videos of the killings in the prisons that show barbaric, and ask America how could they stand silent to something like this. It's awfully a human rights violation in
Hmm.
every. He intend to also approach OAS to sanction Ecuador for this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Mm,
Wow, this is heavy. This is. You are so strong, and I just see so much strength from you as a parent. Bless you, and I just, oh, your strength
mm,
is inspiring.
yeah,
It is, and I can't imagine. I can't. I can't imagine. I
mm,
couldn't even begin to imagine. And just thank you so much for telling us your story. And we're going to look into this. We're going to see what we can do, what we could do to raise awareness. And I mean, this should be epic proportion. This should be everywhere. This should be top media. And I've never heard of this.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
The Washington Post, I was told, was looking into it, but they want, Washington Post, they get caught in between a rock and a hard place. They want to put the story out, but they wanted to slant it in a way to show the inhumane and inhumanity within the prison systems in Ecuador. Because the other thing that they were trying to do was to do a follow-up, because Congress had approved millions of dollars that was grants to Ecuador to reform their criminal justice system. And so
Wow.
what NGO is looking at this point is to put pressure on Congress and say, ask Ecuador back for your money because they didn't do it.
Yeah. Right. What is all this foreign aid for criminal justice reform if it's not going towards that? And you just wonder if that's just adding to the corruption. We're paying these people to be corrupt to our people.
Exactly. And that's the angle they're taking.
Mm, mm.
So,
Wow.
but it's a sad thing because I think where it is at this point is that it's an embarrassment to Ecuador, but no one knows how to get out of it.
Well, they're gonna have to hold this because it's not gonna. Stuff like this can't fly. It's not, it can't fly.
But sometimes people think that if they wait long enough, it will just disappear on its own. Things like this can't just disappear. It just can't resolve on its own. Somebody has to take this step,
Hmm.
Coach
and that
Love. Mm.
yeah. Go on.
Yes.
No, a guy didn't add.
Oh, I was actually wondering about the ambassador for Ecuador, um, and what involvement that person may have.
Okay. When this case started, apparently the ambassador there um, had put his signature on to do some help, but for
Hmm.
some reason, something came down from the government, Pompeo or one of that
Hmm.
they probably walk easy. Since uh, they have a new ambassador, he was not appointed by Biden. He just because the previous ambassador was removed, he's a career diplomat, and he's now started to put pressure on Ecuador for the wrong.
I
And
see.
um, it was in December, um, he sanctioned 20 military generals and 33 judges for the illegal activities and that the judges were taking. And the way he sanctioned them, he pulled all their visas and their family visas so they can never come to the United States.
See. So, who is a part of your team? Who works on this with you every day?
Okay, I have um, an appeal attorney here in Ecuador that has filed an appeal and he's just waiting for a hearing.
Mm-hmm.
I have, um, I have an attorney locally in the town where my son is in the hospital, and he,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of making sure that my son, both of my sons, are in a place that is safe, because now their movements now are controlled by a judge who is somewhat familiar with the case. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if any one of you know or understand Spanish, I can forward you a video recording of a hearing with a judge, just 2 weeks ago when my son was moved from this high level prison just to save his life to this other prison, and where the judge literally let into the prison and the system for what they did.
Mm-hmm.
There was a female judge. God knows what might become of her or her career, but because that's not something a judge do in this part of the world. But somehow or the other, she had enough temerity to jump out there and do it. But she was very animated about law. But that's as far as it goes because she's not in the Supreme Court, she's in the lower court. All she can rule on is the treatment and the placement of my kid. Okay. Another
All
judge,
right.
go ahead.
No,
Oh,
no, no, no. I was gonna bring in Jen. What's new? What's new on the research front, Jen?
No, that's just posted the link in the chat to the website for the U.S. Embassy in Ecuador. So I'm trying to see if there's a way that we can contact them or blow up emails or do something just as some kind of something on there. So
It
trying to just look, but yeah, that's fine.
there's a
it
large
seems
expatriate of Americans in the city where my son is in hospital called Quinker, and they have joined in. They even at one point wanted to put together a group that will go and protest and picket the U.S. Embassy in Quito.
yes. Mr. Stevenson, it seems to me that you need a website, but a Facebook page is fine. But more importantly, it seems to me that you need a social media army,
Mhm.
someone who's posting your clips on a regular basis and constantly getting you in front of the camera. Also, you need someone working on your behalf to get you on very large platforms like Good Morning America, CBS This Morning, someone who can do an expose on you and on your
Mhm.
son's case. So I don't have all of those connections, but when we are speaking things out in this way, people are listening. I do have
Mhm.
people in my network that I'm going to send this video to. And so hopefully we can get your story in the right hands. I'm just going to say right now, those of you who've been watching this video, if you can make clips and post it in a way where people can watch it quickly and get an understanding of it, that would be helpful. So let's get as many eyes on this case as we possibly can. And if
Yeah.
anyone wants to volunteer their time, that's something that can be, uh, that can easily be done. Everyone has different talents. So if
Yeah.
you have the talent of editing material and then reposting this video or these videos, he certainly does need the help.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I mean, if it comes down to setting up a special website or web page, I don't mind making a financial contribution to have it done. Because, I mean, to me, whatever it will take to have it out there is just that I have gotten bombarded from every avenue. I mean, I'm here in Cuenca, Ecuador. Not only am I looking out for my son's best health, but I'm also having to look out for the fact that the hospital, what they're doing, if they're doing the right thing, to make sure that he's getting the best treatment and
Mm-hmm.
the best way of it all. The other thing that I have to also be wary of, it's already well known, they call Americans gringos, and they feel that gringos have tons of money. So the hospital is on the mode of trying to rip me off every which way it could. You know,
I see.
so, I have many things that I have to be juggling at the same time. My
Mm-hmm.
the other son is in another city, and because he's in a safer place and a better place, he says to me, "Dad, my brother needs all your attention, so you don't have to visit with me. Give him my time."
Mm-hmm. That's a good brother.
Mm. Jen?
Hashtag Justice Ecuador on Instagram as well.
Yes, it's on Instagram.
Yep, yep. Most of these things are free, sir. Like these, the Instagrams, the Facebook, YouTubes, these are all free. There's uh, nothing you have to put up, and these social medias are, I think they just, man, it's I'm kind of mind blown, I have to say. It's just mind blown that in this day of, you know identity politics, injustices, the BLMs and everything like this. And I feel like this isn't where it should be as far as exposure. Like this is nothing like. I feel like this should be a common, more. This needs more awareness. Bottom line, and it's just. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of lost for words here. I'm sorry.
And let me tell you the proverbial view in Ecuador. Okay, every high power attorney that I have shopped this case around with in Ecuador, I have not found one of them who did not want to take the case. I have not found one of them who said in their own personal investigation that there was something wrong. I have not found one of them who said to me that what the outcome was because of the fact that the system by itself did everything right. They knew everything the system did was the only proverbial view I have gotten without any equivocation is that there were two black young men. That's the
Hmm. Have you found a high powered attorney with media connections?
yes. They don't want to raise it in Ecuador because this attorney that I have lots of connections, but they feel to themselves, and this is one of the things that the U.S. Embassy told us and the attorneys that were on the case initially, that if you publicize it within a country like this, because of the preponderance of corruption, they will clamor down and find a way to create justification for an unjust cause. So
Mhm.
they have they have said you have to slow walk the media release in Ecuador, anywhere else possible. The second thing they made clear to us that because of the prisons my sons were in Ecuador, $500 can get you killed any place. and they could have killed.
Wow.
I see. I see.
So
Um,
Mm.
I I did want to make this clear. I wanted to find out this bit of information. I think your mic dropped off when you explained how their sentence went from 20.
for 6 months,
Yes. How did it go up? What made their sentence go up?
the judges who were on the case. First of all, the case the case was charged illegally on the basis that they were arrested for one thing. In any country, including America, there should have been one charge and not three separate charges. That's the first thing. They had three separate charges, which means they had to have three separate trials. You know, they weren't arrested for guns and then got freed and then they went back to their farm and then they got arrested for drugs and then they went back to their farm and then they got arrested for murder. They were picked up the one day, the same time, and three charges were leveled as one case. But what they did, what the initial prosecutor did, was separate them as three cases, which is against the Constitution of Ecuador. Anyhow, in so doing, they had the same. Ecuador don't have a jury system. It's three as a three-panel judge. So the same three-panel judges that were on the gun, was on the drugs, was on the murder, which again is against the Constitution because it's double jeopardy. Secondly, it's conflict. You already tainted. You're already biased by having one case. Then you have the same case and the same case. In America, you have three different judges. In any case, what the attorneys did before they filed an appeal, they filed a motion called recusal. They asked that the judges on the case for the murder be recused based on biasness, based on. Well, one thing I forgot to mention: John uh, dated indigenous young ladies in the area. One of the young ladies has a daughter for him now. The child is 4 years old. Um, she was picked up with them on the farm also and was charged for all the same three things.
Hmm.
They were picked up the same day, the same time, the same moment. She was acquitted of all the.
Wow.
Okay. So, so the reason why the charges, the sentence doubled or increased by 10 years, when they filed the recusal, the judges in the same local area had to hear the arguments why those three judges should be removed and not hear the appeal. Because after they were convicted, we filed an appeal which was going to be heard in the same local area. And the attorneys on the case filed a motion for the judges to be removed to have three impartial judges to hear the appeal in that local area. That's the first level of appeal. The second level of appeal goes to the National Court, which is the Supreme Court in Quito. And so hearing, their counterparts rule that they don't consider them impartial and so will not remove them from hearing the appeal. So when the appeal was called up, the same judges that did the gun case, the drug case, the murder case the first time, on appeal, they were the same judge hearing the appeal. Now, even if you know nothing about law, you know that's ridiculous. But in case, they were pissed off at that point because these attorneys embarrassed them. It's very, very rare in that area. Judges are asked to be recused from a case. So when that hearing was set, almost all the local attorneys were in the court to hear this one, to see how they were going to get kicked off. Huh. So it was an embarrassment to the judges. So when they got on the bench for their appeal, they said that they are going to elevate their sentence because they felt that the way these guys died the mitigating circumstances allow them to depart from the maximum. The maximum sentence for murder in Ecuador is 24 years and 6 months. So they say they can depart and up and go higher.
Hmm.
And the basis for departing is they said this was a plan mitigating circumstance. This was a planned murder. I don't know how he did that one, but but and so because of that, they said they can depart and raise their sentence by.
Hmm.
But
So it was punitive. It was retaliation.
yes, it was.
Okay.
And I mean, like I said, all of this is
Jen?
record. This is not something that no one can think. DC Rob hired a private investigator and he dig into the file. You should see the crap he pulled out. Unbelievable.
Hmm.
Mm.
Jen, what you got?
So it's crazy. I'm looking up the demographics of Ecuador, right? And the different
Pro-
so what I'm saying is there's a 1.1 million population of Afro Ecuadorians.
yes.
And now do the what you're calling indigenous, or we could just say the Spanish Ecuadorians, do they have like a contempt towards the Afro Ecuadorian community?
Yes. The
Okay.
95% of the Afro Ecuadorians
Yeah.
live on the coast. Okay.
Mm.
And there are very few in many other areas. There, in the area where John, the farm was, John and one other family were the only Africans in that area. Okay, the
Mm.
Africans, if you Google it, you'll find that 95 or 98% of Africans live in an area called El Smeraldo and it's
Okay.
coast. And the reason why they're there on that coast is because back in the day, when a slave ship was on its way to Brazil, it got shipwrecked right outside the coast there of Ecuador and Imam.
Mm.
And they had a few shipwrecks, and that's how the Africans were actually able to live and be there. That's where it's about 1.7 million. Ecuador has a population of about 7.
Mm. So it's the same type of, would you say it would be, I don't know, comparable to America? In, would you say, like, all right, I'm just going to say,
Yeah,
are they racist like
yeah,
American, or is it worse, or is it the
it
same, or
it is worse.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because it's automatically assumed that listen, before this case came up, myself and wife was in the area where our son's farm was. And we took a bus to another area that's about an hour away. And we were the only Africans getting on the bus or
Mm.
in that area at that time. And when we got on the bus, the police came, pulled us off the bus, asked us to identify ourselves, where we were from, and said that they were going to take us into questioning. And my
Well,
wife had the presence of mind to start to shout out, no mucho dinero, no mucho dinero. And everybody was looking. And at that time, God says, okay, get on the bus, get on the bus.
oh my goodness. Wow. So it's bad down there too. Wow. Oh.
But you see, when he befriended,
So your mic is cutting. I'm sorry. Your
yeah,
mic.
are you hearing me better now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. When my sons moved to Ecuador, they were under the impression that they could have befriended people more or less the indigenous people. They're different in the indigenous tribes. They have the Swars, the Quechua, and there's some other groups, and they themselves also have their own laws that Ecuador gave to them that they can institute on their reservation. So
Mm.
they thought that they could befriend the folks and be accepted within the community because they were doing so much for them. You know, lots of projects from the farm my son used to donate to some of the stores in the town because they were poor people, you know.
Right.
And so if he will donate produce, he will donate money to help them in situations that they might need. So it was always a helping thing. So he never could have envisioned anybody would want to do anything to him. I used to worry more than, you know, because I would say to him, son, you're alone on this farm. You and your brother alone on this farm. Okay, your girlfriend is here, but this is a huge farm.
Mm.
Anybody hide, somebody I could do. He said, Dad, why would they do anything to me? What do I do for them to do anything to me?
Oh, how terrible.
So
Mm.
Annan is in the chat and he said, if the international community made this a priority, Ecuador would quickly help these two boys. Do you
yeah,
agree with that?
I 100%.
Hmm. And how do you think we can get that done?
Well, first of all, I think you got to hit a lot of the international organizations and get the word to them, um, whereby they can see that this is crying out for shame and crying out for injustice in the worst ways. This is not marginal injustice. This is not a shady form of injustice. This is not an injustice that you have to actually peel away certain things to see. It's as daring as day. I mean, even a blind person might be able to see this.
Mhm.
You
I see.
So you really don't have to do a whole lot of legwork because everyone who have come to know the case have been provided with information unequivocally. Their present attorney, the appeal attorney on the case, said to me and to said to even the previous trial attorneys, I can't believe that in my country that this could be this bad.
Mhm.
And it's a female, huh? And she said, listen, I am going to do my own due diligence. So what she did is she took part of the legal fees that we paid and paid to the court $2,000 to get every single document originally from the court. So that she hired a private investigator to do all this. She said, this is too grossly ridiculous to be true. And she paid, she got it, and now she's embarrassed
Mhm.
because she can't find it that at least could have pointed and say, yes, this could have been a gray area where the government could be right.
What you saying, Mr. Pelu? You been quiet?
I'm gonna let y'all talk. I heard the story when he came down to I mean, he didn't come down. I keep forget it when the imam came down. You know, because I know he's local, and I know, and this is a terrible story. Mr. Stevenson, what high school did your sons go to?
Um, Clarksburg High and Damascus High.
Oh, okay, okay. Because I went to John F. Kennedy. I went to John F. Kennedy.
My daughter went to John F. Kennedy.
Oh, for real? Oh, yeah, I went to Kennedy too in 2004. I graduated in 2004 from John F. Kennedy. Yep.
What year did you graduate from Kennedy?
2004. For 2004. A long time ago. I'm an old man. For 2004, I graduated from Kennedy. Yep.
2004. I
Yeah,
think
2004.
I think my daughter graduated around 2004 too.
Oh, hey, is your daughter's name Ashley?
That's her girlfriend. My daughter's name is Deja May Stevens.
Oh, Dejanay?
Yes.
I remember Dejanay. Dejanay, hold on. Dejanay. Oh my God, I grew up with Dejanay. Hey, not to grow
Yeah.
up with her, but from high school, I knew her my whole high school because I remember Dejanay, right? Because I used to always tease her. I used to be like Dejanay, Day. I used to always tease her because she had that name, Dejanay Stevenson. I remember Dejanay. I remember her real well. Oh my God, went from fourth grade to I meant the fourth grade from ninth grade to 12th with her. Hey, tell her Pelu Thomas. Pelu Thomas. She remember me. Everybody knew me, Kennedy. Everybody knew me there. She was Dejanay, yeah.
Yep. My daughter graduated. Matter of fact, she graduated at the top of her class the year. She was accepted to 4 Ivy League schools with a full scholarship.
Yeah, I remember she was real
Harvard.
smart. Dejanay, yep. She was there.
She,
I remember.
yep, she
I
graduated
had
from
a, I had
Kennedy
a,
with 4.5 GPA.
yeah, I remember. I was in the class with her. I was in we was in all the honors classes together. I remember her real well. We was in French. We went through all the classes together the whole time we was in Kennedy. That's a
Mhm.
small world.
Yep.
Well, let's see if we can make this small enough to where perhaps their graduating class
Yeah.
decides to participate and help. It's really an all hands on deck
Yeah.
type of situation.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if there's anything I can, if anybody has any doubt, anything that might help in any way, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help.
Well,
Because
it's a matter of making people care. This
yeah,
situation is egregious, and so it's a matter of getting this case the attention that it deserves, so it can get the advocacy it deserves.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I
So,
we've been pushing it probably more lonesome than we should. We should have probably made it much more of a widely spread situation than we did. But we were given so many assurance that the Supreme Court in Ecuador would have looked at it and find that this was a gross insult to let something like this continue. But in return, they themselves don't want to touch it because of the consequences to them. You know, so it's just one of those things. But like I said, DC Rob has a private investigator that pulled up a voluminous amount of things about the case. He was able to go in and get court records and court documents and information about all the wrongs, bad witnesses, witnesses that lied, witnesses that were never there, people who actually changed the story 5 times. You know,
mm,
it is just sometimes I sometimes wonder because sometimes people hear is the more they get bent out of shape. And I hope and I don't want people to get bent out of shape. I would like people to work and to be able to think, but I wouldn't want to tarnish them and have a bad taste in their mouth for the rest of their life because, sometimes things happen.
well, the current status, as I understand it, is your son, one of your sons, is in a hospital, and he really seems like he would do better in an American hospital.
Exactly.
Um, he has TB.
Yeah.
He's
Yes,
uh,
can.
he has cancer, and he's caught COVID,
Yeah.
and that is horrendous. And your other son is healthy, but he is in great danger.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of the saying, "The squeaky wheel gets the
Yeah.
oil."
Yes. Yeah.
It's
That's
time for this wheel to squeak.
yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
Mrs. Stevenson. Okay, when I first heard the story, is one thing I was wondering. Okay, I know you are originally from Guyana, Guyanese, right?
Yes.
Why did your sons choose Ecuador over Guyana? This is a strange question I was thinking because if they want to go down to South America and do something, why did they choose to be over there when they were placed when they were not too far? Well, I don't know. I know it's far, but it's South America, and they have roots and connections there where they might have be able to fit in. Cause even me, I would think, wow, would I stick out a sore thumb? And I'm here with all these people, nothing like me, but I have family in Guyana. I could be over there. Like, were they ever thinking about going to Guyana
Yes.
to do this adventure? But why did they choose Ecuador over Guyana when they have roots in Guyana?
Okay. Very good question. $1 million question. In 2013, after my son did the internship in Ecuador at the ecotourist farm, he went to, it's not 2012, sorry. In 2012, he went to Guyana shortly after that because I was going, myself and wife, we were in Guyana to a wedding. So he came down there. My older brother has business in Guyana. He has a security firm and an accounting firm in Guyana, but he lives in the United States. He has a big company in DC called Federal Management Systems. He does a lot of federal contracts, but he has a branch in Guyana. So my son went down to Guyana to investigate about setting it up in Guyana. At that time, the country was ruled by an Indian government, and the party is called PPP, People Progressive Party. The opposition leader was a very good friend of myself and wife. His name is David Granger, and he warned my son at that time because they had extrajudicial killings in Guyana, and the Indians were killing blacks once they saw they were progressive business wise. Okay? And he advised my son not to come down and start it there. He thinks it wasn't going to be in his best interest. Fast forward, my son went to Ecuador in 2015, but we bought the farm in 2013. And he moved to Ecuador in 2014. In 2015, our friend David Granger became president of Guyana, but my son already started the farm in Ecuador. Otherwise, he would have gone to Guyana.
Mm. So I'm just finding there is a website dedicated to the cause. It's called justiceecuador.com,
Mhm,
www.justiceecuador.com, and it does have links to the social media pages. It's
mhm.
got the news updates, and I'm going to see what this says. So it says, how can we help? Contact senators and congressmen.
Yep.
Please contact Senators Chris Van Hollen. It has his phone number at Senator Cardin requesting a fair trial. And there's a link to message for WhatsApp. So, yeah, this is great that somebody's done this. And
I think my son, who is sick because he was an IT person, I think
um,
he set it up.
awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah, this is it. This is
Mhm,
justiceecuador.com.
mhm.
And I'm going to share this on all my socials and I'm going to start posting this around and see if I could get some other YouTubers to try to host some panels on it. You know, they have bigger audiences than I do. We gotta spread awareness on this, people. Like it's the least you could do is to open up whatever social media you have, even if you have two friends, and share this website. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
so
I'm going to share this website for sure.
Mhm.
everybody in the chat, it's posted in the chat. I put the link. It's up on the screen, and I mean, you just never know. You could share it, not thinking it would have, and just one person see it and be able to have a connection or know somebody who knows somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah, so let's get this word out, man. We need to make this big. Where is BLM at? Where's Al Sharpton at? Like, where's these people at? Where's I know Imam Alfred is on it,
Yeah.
but like, where's these these people who get all this publicity, like
It's definitely time to make those two phone calls. He's two phone calls away. It's time to make those two phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
Yeah. I
real.
mean, like I said, anything that might tickle your mind or that you might have a question for, I hope you can keep my number, or I will, my email,
Yep.
and don't hesitate to call because, the whole idea is that if you need clarity, I have no problem. And I could also point you to people who can provide information. One of the things that I try not to do is to say to people that what I'm saying is the gospel truth. I want them to get it from an independent source and
Mm-hmm.
try to do as much as possible because lots of
Hmm.
times people think as a parent you might be biased or tainted in some way. And so I always say to people, listen, here is a source that I know is independent. I know it's free. I know it will not be biased based on me because one, there might be no financial connections, or
Hmm.
two, that they did their own investigation because DC Rob has no financial connection to me. His investigator has no financial connection to me. Some of the things he's dug up, I just was blowing me out of the water.
Mm.
I didn't know about them, but and they are a good source because they can tell you that they didn't run with the story. I think there is another news media that did an interview with myself and DC Rob that I don't know if it's posted on the Justice Ecuador website, but it was a big interview we did. And like I said to anyone, you're free to do your own due diligence. Every congressman, every senator has asked me to sign a waiver for them to do their own investigation. And I've done that unequivocally. I signed a Freedom of Information Act to the embassy back in 2017, granting I signed the form and I told the embassy fill in the names they want to let them have access to everything. I didn't put a name on to limit them to a source or a name. I said I signed the bottom. They have at least 10 spots to put 10 people's names. Go with it. So
I see.
it's as open as you can get. I've filed an FOIA, the State Department, to get the documentation. The NGO attorneys filed an FOIA with State Department. They're refusing to release it because it's a terrible embarrassment on their part.
Mm-hmm.
The NGOs even went as far as saying they might end up having to sue State Department and embarrass them in the court because no one wants to know they dropped the ball.
Right. Right. Mr. Stevenson, you have been incredibly generous with your
Mm-hmm.
time and information. Uh, just thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you guys for listening and thanks you for your time.
Anytime. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. I wanted to highlight the case. That's even why I called the imam to come. I was here when you went to the mosque in on Silver Hill Road, and I was like, oh, I gotta do something to get the story out there as best as I could,
Yeah.
because it's something everybody needs to hear. This is an important thing that everybody needs to hear. So I'm so glad for having you. I'm so glad, Jen, for you having us have this on your platform and be hosting us, Jen.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
always, thank you
Honored.
so much. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.
Mm.
Yes, Jen and Mr. Pelu, it has been an honor to be a part of your panel today. Thank you for having me as your guest host.
Thank you so much. It was great to have you. It was good.
Mm.
Nice.
Thanks. And I'm open if you guys put together another panel. I don't mind doing it again, wherever, whenever, whatever.
Thank you so much. We're
Yeah,
gonna try to work on what we can and see who we got, and we're gonna try to get this case out there.
Okay. Thanks again to all. And you guys stay safe and take care.
Of
take
course, and
care.
our
You too.
Prayers.
Thank you, Miss Stevenson. Thank you. We'll
Thank,
keep in touch. We'll keep in touch. I have your information. We'll keep in touch. I'll send you information, everybody. All right.
thank you. Bye bye.
And our prayers and love are with you and your wife, and you guys are an inspiration, and your strength is just commendable. And I want to say we'll get it done, man. If we got to be hopeful, you know.
Thank you again.
Okay,
We'll
bless
Thank,
you.
help you make some noise.
okay,
That's
thank
for sure.
Yes,
definitely. Thanks again.
no
Thank
problem.
all the best.
Bless them. Thank you so much.
Blessings.
Oh my goodness. In this day and age, I'm mind blown. I am mind blown. Annan, is that you? You've been quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
How are
ask
you?
him who he had reached out to. If any
Oh, okay.
senators or members of the Congress or the Senate had been helpful to him, any foreign leaders.
Yeah, so on the website that's on the www.justiceecuador.com is the what it's looks like the official website, and it's got all the links to who to contact, how to help, information on the case, and yeah, there's a lot of information there. So
I
I
missed
hope
some
that
of it. So my question is, has he reached out to the president of Ecuador?
I think he has.
pres-
He's tried to. Okay. No, everything he's tried. He just needs more trying and more people helping. Basically, I mean, everything he's tried. Anything in his power to try, he's tried to do it. He's trying to get people to reach out to him because it's hard to him to get the direct line. The president knows the case, but it's hard for him to deal with the case because it'll be so unpopular for him to do it. He might lose his political legitimacy because they'll say, "Oh, he's favoring foreigners over the indigenous people." So there's a lot of politics behind it. He just needs the maximum help you can get. Go to the websites, try to do as much you can. I mean, he's in the group he's in our group on the back end with Imam from Mohammed. He's in the group there, so we have his information
Yeah.
and to talk to him there and do whatever you can to get the information out
So so let me
to other people. Yeah.
so let me clarify. So this case is high profile in Ecuador. The press in Ecuador is covering it.
I don't know
no,
how much the
no,
press
they
is covering
don't.
it, but a lot of people know about it though. I don't know how
Yeah,
much the press is covering it though.
they're trying to hush it because they look crazy because they messed up and dropped the ball, and they're trying to save face and do whatever they can, including threatening judges and threatening, the people who try to, like you said, the lady can't get a job, like she got blackballed, and it's just terrible. Like they're excuse me, they're trying to save face on this because they know that they look crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So
Well, excellent. Well,
yeah.
thank you again, and I'll bid you guys a good night. This has been a wonderful experience. Thank you for having me.
You're
Yeah,
welcome. Thanks so
thank you
much for
so
coming to
much.
help, coming to join us. We really appreciate it. You know, you added another level of dynamism and energy that it just made this whole thing an impactful thing. So thanks for being here. Your presence did, it just blew everything blew up, and I'm happy that we could blow up the story because that's the most important thing. So thanks for being here today for this magical moment in awareness, and I hope magical things happen in the lives of these young men who are in this predicament right now.
Mhm.
100%. The more eyes, the more noise, the more attention. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. We're going to make it holler. We'll do our part.
Yep, I'm literally sharing it right now. I hope everybody in the chat can at least share this link somewhere, man. Like,
Absolutely.
there's only a
Absolutely.
couple people, but come on, you guys got some kind of social
Connect.
media that you could just drop the link in real quick. Even if you don't type anything with it, just put the link out,
Just,
man. Put the
yeah,
web out.
drop the link.
Hmm.
Um, all right. Bye bye for
All
now.
right, bye bye everybody, bye bye.
Take care, guys. Thank you. It's been a wonderful stream again. Thank you to my co-host, Mr. Pelu. Thank you to
You're
Coach
welcome.
coming through. And eh, Imam Mohammed is awesome, man. Like he's like a cool, like he's like I would like to
I'm gonna bring him back. I'm gonna bring him back. No, no. See,
yeah.
let's see. Look, the only reason I mean, I wanted to set up the show a particular way today, just because I wanted to have a high impact show. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm gonna bring him
Yeah.
back. Yeah, yeah, but I'm but I'm gonna bring it. He gonna come back again, and it's better for him. It's better for him to do our 8 o'clock Sunday shows because I think 9:30. I mean, he told me originally he could do it, but I think 9:30 is a little bit too late for him sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I was planning on just saying, you know what, I was going to have Imam and then have the story. So it worked out the way I wanted to work out. But I'll definitely bring new Imam.
Yeah,
I'm having
'cause
back soon.
I listened to his podcast with Tava Smiley, and I was like jotting down a couple questions, you know what I'm saying, that I kind of wanted to get in about that, and I also wanted to ask him, um, just some things like maybe about the AME Zion Church, if he,
Okay,
was,
okay, okay. No,
yeah,
we're having him back. We'll have him back. We'll have him back soon. We'll have him back. All right.
he's a good chat. He's a good chat.
Yeah, we'll have him back. We'll have him back. I promise you,
And
Jen.
I'll
Okay.
make sure I do my hair, so I put my dang camera.
Yeah, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him back for you. Okay, I promise you, Jen. I'm gonna get him back for you. All right.
Yeah, yeah, we'll chat
Okay.
again. All right, everyone. Big up in the chat to everyone that came through. I was not paying attention to the chat. I know there's some deep discussions going on in there. But yeah, big up to everyone who commented and came through and spent your time with us. And yeah, please, justiceecuador.com. You guys, come on, let's get this out there. Big up. Peace.
Peace.